Welcome to the Experience Show. Today we'll be exploring a very interesting topic. And we at the Experience Show, we're here to educate, inspire, and elevate individuals. Today we'll be exploring lessons that we can learn from COVID and as it relates to our finances. Alright, so for this afternoon, we have a very special guest in our midst. His name is Brother Tindale Haye. He's a banker, a father, a very talented young man. And we're grateful to have him on the show to speak on this topic, lessons that we can learn from COVID and as it relates to finances. And so, we welcome you, Brother Tindale Haye.
Thank you very much, Brother Javel, for inviting me to the experience. And I trust that indeed as we explore this topic this evening about finances and the whole pandemic issue, we trust that indeed we will be able to learn some things, and that as we explore that indeed we will see how we can go forward. Because not because we have a pandemic means that life is halted or life is paused. It just means that we need to continue to live through these situations. So it's a pleasure to be here this evening.
Yes, so Brother Tindale Haye, tell us some things about yourself. There's a couple of things about yourself.
You just mentioned that I'm a banker. Yes, so secularly, I am employed as a banker. I have been in the banking industry for a while. I'm in banking for about 25 years now. I have been doing something new for the past 3 years. I have been more in sales and mortgages, and that's a new aspect of it, and I am enjoying that aspect of it. And nonetheless, I used to be in customer service where we attend to the customer's needs, so we know in terms of the suite of products at that particular institution. We used to do that. Otherwise, yes, I'm a member of the Petersfield Wesleyan Holiness Church. Have been a Christian for many, many years. I'm a pastor's child, and so if you want to put it, I was born in the church, so to speak. So I had no other choice but to be in the church. But I'm enjoying it. I love the Lord, and I have just been in many different areas of the church, and I just like working for the Lord.
Now, what inspired you to become a banker?
Very interesting question, I might say. I remember as a youngster growing up, maybe about 10 years old or so, I remember one day I visited the bank with my mother. Obviously, she did some business there. And when I went in, I was really impressed with what I saw in terms of how the persons were dressed and how they go about carrying off themselves in completing that particular transaction. And from ever since, I was very, very impressed with that, and so I decided that when I grow up, I want to be a banker. And so at school, I would have done the business course, and because that would have led me on that particular path. So I'm glad that I have chosen that path.
Thank you. Now, what are some mistakes persons have made while saving? Because we know that even in this time, we know that saving is very important. What are some mistakes that?
All right, saving is very, very important, and I guess that is really the key towards an individual's success in life. Savings should really be something that is compulsory. Savings should be purposeful. Savings should be meaningful, because you see, in Jamaica we have that colloquial saying to say that you are saving for a rainy day. Rainy day doesn't necessarily mean when a day when rain is going to fall, but it is saving for that unforeseen future event. So savings should really be very, very purposeful in someone's life. I see where people are making a lot of mistakes in their savings by they take out a part of their salary and they put it as in a different account to say it's for savings. But by within that 2 weeks, you see they start coming back and taking off from out of that portion. So that's defeating the whole purpose of what savings is for. Savings should really be something that you put aside. It's like an expenditure. You take it out and you just put it in an account where you forget it. Or you put it in another type of instrument whereby it is there working for you, so to speak. So it is not just that you, as soon as you run short of money, you're going to run back in there and take it out. That's not what savings is for. Savings should really be made. It's something that, it's like, so you make your budget every month, and savings should be one of those, let us say, expenditure item then, so to speak, that say it's something that you must do. So you take it also, when you get your salary, for us as Christians, first thing that should come out of our salaries is our tithes. The next thing should be savings. That should be the second thing. And afterwards, you plan for your bills and how you're going to spend the rest of your money. So it should really be purposeful, it should be meaningful, and it should be something that you try to stick towards.
We know that budgeting is an important part of managing one's finance and managing one's expense. Now, what would you say are some of the flaws in the way we budget?
Before we look on the flaws, yes, I must also stress the importance of budgeting. The budgeting is really a financial guide in terms of how someone intends to spend their income. And so budgeting, you have your income and then you would list your expenses, so to speak. And I might say a wise budget in terms of budgeting is when you spend within or you expend within your income, so to speak. I did mention earlier that one of those items that should be under expenses for budgeting was savings. And because why you want to put it under expenses is because expenses is something that you must do. So you have to pay the bills, you have to send the children to school, you have to buy food and all of that sort of thing. So savings should be one of those items that it's a must, all right? So for budgeting, one should be very serious about the budget. It's not just it shouldn't just be adopted as a mental guide, but it should be adopted as a guide that one uses for the month or for the week, however often that person is paid. Because you don't want a situation whereby you're spending more than what you're earning. That doesn't make sense. It's a deficit budget. That's not budget we want, all right? And I guess some of the things that we can talk about relate to the flaws that is in that. Because there are some people who are compulsory spenders. They just always have to spend. They just get up tomorrow and they decide to spend this and buy this. We don't know. Yes, they have some funds, but they didn't budget to spend the funds this way. So we need to be wise persons. We need to be wise individuals who we know, but you budget for something. You don't just be a compulsory spender. You should. So if you have something extra that you need to spend, you must know where the money is coming from. So you didn't have the extra money, then you just have to bypass it for this time. Or you put a plan in place if it's something that you really need. And something you need, so you say, well, I can't have it this month, but next month maybe I can squeeze it from somewhere else or whatever it is. Or we talk about that savings that you put aside. This is that time. If it is, say, for something that is serious, then for you to borrow from your savings and then purchase this item if it is so important to you. Because yes, this item might be an item that will allow you to get another income, which you could say that's an investment that you're going to make. So in that case, that is something that you could borrow from your savings, because you know that whatever you're going to invest in, you'll be able to make back the funds for you to put back in the savings. Because I mentioned that if you borrow from your savings, your savings should be that thing that you put aside, that you do not touch it because you have it for a particular purpose. All right? It will be maybe you're putting it for when you're going to get married, you're going to put it for that down payment on that house, or for whatever it is. And then these are expenses that are need to be planned for. These are money that you have to. Because, for example, that deposit on that house, is not a walk in the park. Because let us say, for example, you intend to buy a house that for $10 million. You are normally asked to find about 10% for your down payment. And if we look at that simple example, 10% of that 10 million is $1 million. Now, how many of us have that in our savings account? And you see that we talk about savings. So that's why savings has to be so purposeful, right? So how long is it going to tell us? How long is it going? are we required to say, how long are we going to save this $1 million? And so we need to break it down and say, well, all right, for 1 year, maybe I can save $200,000. All right, and maybe for 2 years I can save, so it's going to take me 5 years if I do that. No, if I'm going to do that, then it has to be purposeful. It has to be meaningful because you're saving for a particular purpose. So this is not a saving that every month when I run short, I'm going to dip into it, all right, and take it out and never put it back. You understand? So this is what we need to do. So I would just say that's the importance of budgeting. We need to know what it is that we want. Sit down, think about it seriously. You know, I'm earning $100 per week. All right, my budget needs to be as I say, for us as Christians, we have to take out to our tithe. So right there and then, you know, we're earning $100. $10 is for my tithe. All right, I need to know how much I need to take out my savings. Normally, we have a rule in savings to say that you save up at least 20 to 30% of your income. All right, so that's your savings you shouldn't touch. No, you have that other $60 or so or $50 that you can spend from. That is what you need to live out of. All right, so that other what is left or that is set aside, let it be used for whatever. So you live within your means. That's the important thing. And we as Jamaicans, we tend just to always not live within our means. We just spend impulsively, and that will not make it. So the important thing is that we save or we budget it wisely so that we can accomplish things in life.
So what are some of the good budgeting practices to use?
Yeah, good budgeting practice. I would have just touched on a few of them earlier. It's just that we need to be disciplined. It takes a disciplined approach. All right, and we have to be very disciplined. We have to be very deliberate in terms of what we want to do. All right, and we have to be determined that we are sticking to the budget. All right, so I would just want to say that we have to be deliberate. We need to be determined, and we have to be decisive in terms of what we need to do. Right. So those are things that I think we have to stick to it. All right, stick to the budget. You sit down and you plan the budget, stick to the budget.
Now, we realize that the persons might want a little extra fund to deal with their business, and they have the main job, but then they want a second job. What are your thoughts on having a part-time job, whether it's in Jamaica or in the Caribbean?
All right. Anything that would get more income should always be encouraged, providing it is not compromising, especially your main job. So having a second job is important because, as I say, it is giving you more income. And so with more income, it means that you can save more. It means that you can even have a better lifestyle, or you can even have more ideas in terms of things that you can achieve certain things in life. And so therefore, if you can have a second job or a third job or whatever it is, as long as they are not, jeopardizing the other job, that is important. That we can get in trouble with that aspect of it. So having that's very much encouraged. That I will encourage that, so to speak. And that is why some people, especially on the investment side, they say, well, because I can't get a second job, that's why they have to let the money work for them. And so that is why they would choose good investment options, whereby whatever they are putting aside would start to work for them. So it generates enough income so that they don't necessarily have to, have a second job, so to speak. There are some persons who will do that, all right? But then, as I said, the truth of the matter, as long as you're not jeopardizing your main job and you can have a second job. So in these days, too, especially in the pandemic, we saw opportunities where people were able to have second job. We have a lot of YouTubers coming out all of a sudden. This pandemic has taught us that, this YouTube thing is getting big and going far and wide, and people are making a lot of money off of YouTube these days. And so that's another stream of income for some persons who are able to do that. We have also heard that during this pandemic, persons who were like laid off or so from their jobs, they had to seek other alternatives, and so they had to, so to speak, go back on their talents that the Lord had blessed them with. And we have heard success stories of persons who have learned the art of baking, some persons who have learned the art of interior decorating, and people who have gone into farming as a result of this COVID virus, and it has helped them in that sense of the word, because, they would have had this skill, and somehow during this COVID situation, it allowed allow this skill to be able to come to fore, so to speak. And all they have to do is just to work on it and to be able to improve that skill. And a lot of persons were able to be better cooks and better chefs and be better bakers throughout this pandemic, and they were able to survive because they were not able to, for example, the baker, they bake and they sell, and they're able to continue to live in this life. So the truth of the matter is that that's one of the good things about COVID, in terms of it allows persons to become a little bit more diverse in who they are, bring out that talent, that innate talent that you have, and people were able to just survive, and it was one of those good things that happened through COVID, and it improved their finances, most definitely improved their finances, and that's it's all about improving your finances, all about allowing you to amass wealth or to build wealth, so to speak, because that is what is going to make you to be a better person.
So you made mention of these persons becoming creative, becoming innovative in these things. Now, how that make you feel?
Of course, it should allow some persons. It will allow you definitely to feel more accomplished. It will allow you to feel, a little bit more, be creative, and the fact that you are so creative. So it allows you to be, to know that you can continue life. So one part of your life was cut off, so to speak. Your main stream of income was gone because maybe the hotel closed down, or wherever you were displaced as a result of whatever happened due to COVID. But then you did not just lie down and die, so to speak. You become creative, and so you look into what you're able to do because you want to continue life. You still have your family to take care of, or whatever it is, and so therefore you just have to go there and put your shoulders to the wheel, so to speak. And so therefore it allows you to become that creative and innovative, and so therefore you were able to achieve more. And so definitely you will definitely feel accomplished as a person to know that, even though this thing hit you so badly, you were able to rise up above it, so to speak, rise up and conquer. And so definitely thumbs up to those persons who were able to do that throughout COVID.
How important it is for a person to sharpen their skills, to improve on their talent. How important it is?
It is very important. Very, very important for someone to improve your skill as much as you can. Yes, you have a skill, and the truth of the matter is that you might have a skill, but if you don't work on it, it's just not going to get any better. And especially if you are faced with a situation that you can now use that skill, because the Lord would have given us these skills so that we can earn our livelihood, or we can make our livelihood as a result of these skills. All right. So for the person who is able to sing, for the person who is an artist, if that person is able to continue to practice and work at that singing ability, all right, that person will just continue to just sing, and each time you hear the person, it means that the person is getting better. It means that the person will be convincing themselves that this is with a talent, and this talent can allow me to live. I can live off this talent. And if you continue to work on that talent, you're definitely going to become better. They say practice becomes perfect. And so the more you practice and the more you're more conscious of the fact that you want to become better, then you will become better. And by you marketing yourself, that's another thing that we have to do. We have to learn to market ourselves so that we can put ourselves out there. So if somebody is going to have a church is going to have a concert, then they can think of me. That I will be the first person on their mind because of the skill that I would have been able to master my skill, so to speak. And they would want to think of me as a person to use. And with that, of course, they would basically pay me for that, for whatever. And of course, that is basically what you want, because that is what is able to enhance your skill. That is what is going to cause you to have a livelihood. And with that, you're able to be able to build an album and that sort of stuff. And definitely, you will be able to make a livelihood. And that's what we want. You want to be able to take care of yourself, take care of your family, and continue to be progressive in life.
You did mention earlier that investing is one of the things that we could use our savings for. And we know that investing, and this, as you said earlier too, that investing is money working. So now, what are some investment opportunities for our younger generation?
Good question. Savings, all right. So all of that in investment that we're talking about now is basically savings that we did mention earlier in terms of putting something aside. And in the marketplace that we have today, there are so many opportunities in terms of investments. So let us say in the money market industry, there's stocks and bonds that persons can buy. There is IPO that people can buy into. There is compulsory savings from various type of institutions, and there is property investment that people can go into, and there is the global type of stuff. So the truth of the matter, there are many opportunities these days in the marketplace. Persons just would need to know how to go into these financial institutions, these investment houses, and ask about these opportunities. Some of them are quite risky, and there are others that are not as risky. And so therefore, you just need to know how to be able to look at what options are there and how to make your investment. The truth, though, especially for young people, you'd want the fact that they're just starting out life, you would want to just be, there's a word of caution, is just that they shouldn't just dig to be too risky, so to speak, in terms of the investment. Because the more risky the investment is, the higher the returns, yes. But the truth of the matter is that also means that it's the quicker that you can lose your investment. And so the word of caution would be just that if you're launching out, that you launch out steady and you don't be so aggressive in terms of the returns. Because it takes time to build wealth. So wealth that comes overnight, more or less is wealth that you're going to can lose also overnight. And you don't want that particular situation. So you want to take your time to build wealth. All right, so you maybe want to go for the less risky options, all right, and then you start just building on that. And if you make so every month you put a little bit into that savings. Every month you want to put a little bit and buy a little bit more investment into maybe the property investment or in the cryptocurrency or whatever it is. But make sure that you're educated enough. Make sure you get all the information to know whatever investment you're going into, what are the risks that are involved, so that you are informed and you're making an informed decision, and you don't just run into it ad hoc and or blindly. You just want to make sure that it's a calculated risk that you are taking and to amass that wealth.
Many persons might be wondering property investment and currency investment. You want to explain a little more on those?
All right. I'm not really a licensed dealer, so I will not necessarily go into that aspect of it. We can find other persons that because to sell those securities, really, you need some persons who are licensed. I'm not a licensed investor, but just that I happen to know about them. But I wouldn't want to go into that aspect of it, lest I don't do justice. There's a compulsory options that institutions have. For example, so for example, you have a particular goal, so you want to, you have that. For example, the institution that I work, we have a particular one that is called an I Save for Home, and that one is specific for persons who want to save to make that deposit for their home purposes. And so you open that type of account. It's a compulsory type savings account. You set a certain amount each month that you save, and it is specifically for that home. We also have other plans. For example, whereby it might be that you want to save for your children's education. You can put the money in that investment option, and it's also a compulsory thing. You put that money, you block it, certain amount each month, and so it's a compulsory thing. And that is why I was telling that savings need to be compulsory, savings need to be purposeful, and need to be meaningful, because at the end of the day, it will allow you to the purpose that you are saving for. That is basically what it is for, and so therefore, at the end of the day, you would feel satisfied that you had put something away for that particular purpose.
Right. So, would you consider some investment to be easy
than others? I wouldn't say easy, but I would say there are some. In terms of, we would want to use the word risk more. So there are definitely some investments that are less risky. Some of them not so risky at all. And so those are the more conservative persons, all right? There are some of them, like, for example, the stocks and the bonds. Those are the ones that are a little bit more riskier. The returns on those might be a little bit higher. But then, as I say, with those, you can lose your investment as easy, right? But then, so I would not necessarily say easy, unless you want to consider savings to be easy, then yeah. But I would maybe preferably to use the word risky. So there are some that are less riskier than others, yes, in that sense of the word, yes.
Okay, so it being riskier or less risky means that you will get less returns.
You get less returns. In other words, you get less interest on those type of accounts, but those are accounts that are, in case of the bank should go under or whatever it is, those funds are secure. So it means that you would be reimbursed those funds in case of the institution fails. For if the bonds and those things that are a little bit more riskier, if your bond lose its value, then you would have just lost your investment or whatever amount. So that is why those are considered to be more risky. So because just overnight, you can just lose that investment just like that.
Now, what is one important lesson, financial lesson that we can learn from this pandemic?
An important lesson that we can learn from this pandemic is that it allows persons to be very creative, and that is one thing that I think this whole pandemic taught persons, and especially it brings out the creativity in the sense, especially if persons would have lost their jobs, because sometimes when you are in your job and you're very secure in your job and you're very comfortable in your job, sometimes it doesn't bring out that creative nature in you. But when you know that your job is now on the line, and you know, or you would have lost that job, so to speak, and you know that life continues, you shouldn't just lay down and say, boy, you know, I lose my job, you know, so therefore this is the end of it, and blow it up. No, you'd have to say, boy, you know, so I have to become creative now, and I have to sit down and think of some of the things that I can do. I alluded to some of that earlier, in terms of using all that talent that God has given you, and you can sit down and say, well, what is some of the things that I'm able to do well? And to work on those things, and you know, and to be able to bring out that sort of stuff. So, for example, as I said, we have heard some success stories of persons who would have their culinary skill would have improved, and so they have become chef overnight, so to speak. And so they put up a little cook shop in their community or whatever it is, and that they would have been able to offer this to the community, and they would be able to live. There are persons who were able to bake, and you know, they would have baked different sort of stuff, and you're able to sell it, and they will be able to continue life. And so that's why I said this pandemic has really taught us to be very creative and to be very innovative. And as I mentioned earlier, there are many YouTubers that we are seeing emerging all of a sudden. And you know, and YouTube is paying these people a lot of money to bring the content. So you always hear them talk about bringing the content. They have to get the content. So it's just a matter of that persons have to go there, in other words, hunt the door, so to speak, you know, so that they can continue their lives.
No, we recognize that that 2020 has brought in this pandemic, and persons have been struggling financially. What would you say to somebody who is really faced with serious financial problem at this point?
I would just basically want to say, don't sit down and die. Don't sit down and die. Get up off the bed. Get up from the chair and just put your shoulders to the wheel. We are Jamaicans. We are very creative. We are hardworking people. So don't just sit down and die. There are so many things. There are so many opportunities that are out there. So just sit down and think about it seriously and come up with some things. And do there are a lot of construction that is going on now. So if you don't think that you don't really have a particular skill, find some construction to do. You know, find some construction work. As I said, there are many of those that are happening. There are road works. You know, buy a lawnmower, buy a walker or something, and you know, you just don't sit down and die. Just find something to do. There's always something to do, and when you do these things, it's as a result of your livelihood. And so you can get something done. You say you buy the worker, you're able to go around and cut lawns and that sort of things. You're paid for it, and you know, build yourself. And you know, after a while, you know, things will get better. So things will get better. So it is dark now, but then light will shine. Light will shine. So the truth of the matter, just stick to the task in terms of getting up, finding something to do. Don't just lie down and don't just die. Just fight. Use the talents. Allow the talents to come for, so that you're able to take care of your families and to take care of yourself.
No, but I think they want to tell us your favorite scripture and tell us something.
Right, as I'm talking about light, it is just such a wonderful thing to know that as Psalm 27 verse 1 says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Who shall I fear? I love that scripture so much. And it talks about that God is our light and our salvation. And the light, that light is something that dispels darkness. Light is something that guides. And it is good to know that even throughout this pandemic, when things seem to have gone so far, or things get dark, the world seems to be in a gloom, so to speak. The world is like in a state of shutdown, so to speak. It's good to know that God is there as that light that is still there, that is able to shine, that is able to guide persons and into finding this light. And the fact that it brings salvation, what that means is that it brings joy, it brings satisfaction. What it means is that it brings us to a new level, so to speak, in the Lord. And so that is why even when things get so gloomy, we just depend on God as that light and to shine and to guide us through this terrible time. And this is just such a practical thing to know that, I've lost my job and that sort of thing. The Lord is my light and my salvation. I will trust Him, and I know that He will not cause me to lie down and die, but He will cause me to get up. And that light is leading me, and I will follow that light. And so, therefore, I'll be able to, live my life. I'll be able to become, profitable again. I'll be able to have a livelihood. I'll be taking care of my family and myself, so to speak. And so it's good to know that in a time like this, we can turn to God and we can continue to trust God as our light and our salvation, because He's the one who's able to take us through. And that is the thought that I would want to leave with our young people and leave with our persons who are watching. And we just want to encourage them, that in times like these, that you don't buckle under the pressure, but what you do is that you open yourself to the Lord, to open new avenues, to open new ways, to open new lights for you, so that you are able to continue to live and that you can give Him the glory. Because one of the things is that when the Lord take us through these dark areas sometimes, or take us through these different areas of life, we're not so grateful, and we don't thank Him enough. But the truth of the matter, we need to have a heart of gratitude, have a spirit of thankfulness, and we just need to give God thanks, because He's able to take us through these situations. And I just want to encourage everyone, just trust the Lord to be able to take you through these situations. He's able to take you through.
Thank you, Martin. There we have it. A very insightful presentation, a very insightful interview with our brother, Tindale Haye. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching. This is the Experience Show. God bless you.